And the top right-hand side for Mystery Gaming lives up to his name. He is Strange.
His opponent in the bottom left in the blue, playing for the Platinum Heroes. It's Goblin.
I'm gonna make a bird noise for Platinum Heroes.
Ah!
Nice. But yeah, Strange, I mean, he's a very fun player to watch as well, right? He is a little bit on the mind gamey, on the trickster creative side of things, and it's always refreshing to see him play. So he's always a very dangerous player, not to be underestimated, I think, by anyone in the world.
Yeah, that is very true. And by the way, as we take a look here, you talked about it. Strange 7-3 versus Goblin. But you know, Goblin maybe a little bit better in PvP at the moment. Even if Iligulac thinks that you know, again, that is going to be a 2-0 from Strange. So as we look at this series here, this is not something that is going to be incredibly stylistic. I don't think. Not the same way that we talk about King Cobra. It's like, okay, double Stargate, double Robo, that's how he wants to play. Turtle on 2 bases, Turtle on 3 bases. Like, we know how he's going to play. On this one, this should be a much more, I'm not going to say comfortable, but a much more standard matchup. Goblin, he likes his Phoenix play in some matchups. I don't know that we're necessarily going to see that here, but Cats, you talked about how, you know, Goblin was feeling good, but Strange kind of is this one that has this, you know, has had the lifetime score. Is there something specifically you want to see from Goblin that might look to play counter to that?
No, I think Goblin can play very well reactively. I think he is a very smart player in his own right. So I like the Sentry opening from him. I think that should be in his comfort zone. Both players going for it. So both players are going to be looking for scouting information and play a little bit more of a reactive game, right? Like they're both looking to potentially play safe and transition into at least 3 base play, I would imagine, of an opening like this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We have seen, obviously it's not happening in this game, but we have seen some kind of interesting single gate expand, but you take the gateway on the high ground type of ideas. MaxPax has been playing around with it. A couple other players have as well, but that is, again, that's no longer the meta single gate expand on every map. It does make sense here that we're going to see Strange and Goblin again. You know, 2 gate expand, that's the way it's going to go. If we look at openers, it's Stalker Sentry, Double Stalker, Double Sentry as well. So not only are these players building to go into the mid game, right? Talk about getting onto 3 bases, blink +1 before they do anything for the most part. It's the exact same opener. It's the exact same set of units. So it's not like, well, someone goes Adepts and someone goes Stalkers, then maybe you have a bit of a timing to put a bit of pressure on. Now we're very, the Hallucinated Phoenix is right on time as well. They meet right in the middle of the map.
They don't, though. They meet a little bit on Goblin's side, which has to feel a little bit bad if you're Goblin, right? Because you're doing the exact same thing. So it's like, oh damn, I was like a second, 2 seconds slower, you know?
Yeah. Although
it's the middle of the map that gives it away, in fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, now deviating a little bit.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're very right here. So that's a very quick Robo coming out of Strange. And it's funny, you know, Cats, PvP used to be this rock, paper, scissors. You know, is it an Immortal opening? Or like, is it a Robo opening? Is it a Blink opening? Blink has more map control. It's really hard to break a couple Immortals. But that really hasn't been PvP for years now. So do you think Strange has ideas here, or is this just really going to be that kind of Robo Immortal opening that we saw years ago?
No, I think it's just a classic, right? Like, I mean, Immortals are a very dependable unit in the early game, and to take thirds and whatnot. 2 Adepts for a single probe is a good trade for Goblin on this side. And yeah, I mean, the score and the Aligulac prediction, I think it's at 2-0, right? It should be the mean score for this series.
Yeah.
But I think the friendly score is 2-1, no? And probably, you know, could be either way. I think that, yeah, 2-0 Strange is a really mean score.
Yeah, honestly, I'm if I was to get, again, I haven't seen as much of Strange this ESL Masters, but again, just based on how I've seen Goblin playing over the course of this ESL Masters, if I was to give anyone a 2-0, like going in without kind of looking at a league, like I'd say, you know, if anyone's going to 2-0 this series, I would think it would be Goblin. Now, again, stats, they tell a different story, and clearly we know that stats don't lie, but they can be abused. And that may be a case of what's happening here.
For sure. All right. scout here continues for Goblin, who they're pretty even in workers, right? Just one the difference here in favor of Strange. So economy is going to be pretty similar as Strange continues to look for openings, continues to try to be cheeky with those adepts hiding on the side, and the very good vision that the Observer has. This might be the invitation for the adepts to come in now that the Observer has seen the Stalkers move out.
Yeah, we certainly see Strange. He drops his camera down at the bottom. There we go. Adepts are going to look to stay in. There are 3 sentries and a shield battery, so that is some healing, some damage, but you're right. I mean, sentries, they just tickle this. So actually significant amount of probes are going to go down. Goblin kind of caught out on the map. Stalkers get warped in home. It's 5 dead probes, but Stalkers find their way into the main base as well. That's a dead pylon eventually. Force fields are going to be rather nice, and with Guardian Shield, it's going to be 2 pylons. That really should be the extent of it here. Oh, okay. Another Stalker goes down. Pylon does not fall, but he gets a sentry for the cost of another Stalker. But Cat's on the balance of things. Goblin wanted to be aggressive. I did not work out very well for him.
It did not work out very well for him. However, he does take the map control, and with that, a faster third that Strange is very well aware of. So Strange should look to push out to take his own third in the short vicinity of time here, as Goblin looks to add his own power units in the Immortal.
Goblin really wants to blink into the main base again. He's keeping those hallucinated Phoenix on the other side of the map, but instead moves into the natural. Okay, not. Oh, he does get the sentry. Does not lose a Stalker for it. So he's doing a really good job right now of cutting down some of the defensive utility that Strange has. And I mean, sentries are not cheap.
Oh, very smart. I was gonna say it's like kind of bad that he got trapped on the other side of this area, because as long as he's on the right, exactly what you're saying can happen, where if Strange moves out and doesn't leave enough defenses, Goblin can blink back in, right? So Goblin's saying right now, you want this third, you have to move out and you have to dislodge me, but I can blink into your main, right? And that's exactly what he's going to do. So very nice, gets 2 pylons, not even gonna blink out back to the low ground, anticipating that Strange might separate his army as he did. But you see what I'm saying, right? When he was on the other side, can you point to the area like north? Yeah, when he's here, that's the opportunity that Strange could have had to both push out and take his third without opening up his main. So that's why the blink back from Goblin seemed so clever to me.
Yeah, really nice.
I was like, oh crap, I'm out of position.
Really well played from Goblin, but now Strange is the one that wants to get active on the map here. Goblin, minor worker lead, because he does have that third base just a little bit faster. But there are 3 Immortals. And by the way, Glaive's on the way. I don't know if it's going to be relevant for this. It's not going to be relevant for this fight, but maybe the next one. But Goblin's upgrades are done. He's got disruptors here. You don't want to blink on top of this army. He's got a couple shield batteries. So Strange postured. You know, he forced some extra static defense, but he's not going to get much more than that. But Cats, Adept Glaives on the way. How do you feel? This is interesting.
It is very interesting. I mean, it's pretty crazy, right? Like, very difficult. I mean, I guess if he's anticipating something like a Zealot Ball or something like that, I don't know, maybe Adepts could work as a part of your army. Otherwise, it feels a little late to do this as a form of harassment, right? But yeah, Zealots put aside, I don't know that this is the upgrade that is gonna do much or pay off for Strange, but I'd love to see what he has envisioned, right? Because he's clearly and obviously practiced with this, so
yeah, I mean, based on the timing right here, I can't help but feel it's almost kind of a misclick. Like, imagine you had charged for this push. Man, this army from Strange is so awkward. He has so many sentries, but disruptors are just gonna blow them all up, and there they go off. Immortals, they don't take the shots though. These force fields are fantastic, and actually the Immortals of Goblin, one of them goes down. But that was like all the sentry energy. Like, there's a couple force fields left, and
there's a lot of force fields left. Still, like, there's 2 full energy sentries. One gets picked off. The second one nearly doesn't connect on the the disruptor going out again. But good repositioning here from Strange, who still has retained 5 Immortals. This is looking very, very difficult for Goblin. Will he have to pull probes or something?
Yeah, this is such a weird fight, and yeah, he is gonna have to pull probes. After all, disruptor from the backside. That's the shot he's looking for. And now these Immortals, their shields are gone. They're gonna go down pretty quickly, but the Stalkers, they're still alive, and the mass sentry all-in really seems to be working. One last Immortal here will fall, but now it seems like A, the economy, and B, the Stalker count, they're still pretty solidly in Strange's favor.
I mean, that was my first impression. Then I looked down at less supply, and it's still kind of competitive, even with Goblin having a lead there. And if you look at probes, I mean, you lost 19, but you were behind already. So maybe the income tab is the relevant one to bring up here. Obviously, it's gonna start fluctuating slightly into Strange's favor, I would imagine. But look, Goblin has had a lead on this front, right? So he is gonna retain that supply lead, and overall the game does not look dire whatsoever for him.
Yeah, you want to talk about trades? That was 12 dead sentries and 5 dead immortals. Like, it's one thing. Look at the resources lost right now. That looked like it was a fairly decent trade from Strange at the start. Like, he killed 18 probes, you know, he got a couple of disruptors, but he's down about 1,400 resources at this point. And the big deal, he has lost almost the entirety of his resources lost gap. How much more he's lost is in the gas count, which in a PvP is just, that's actually insane.
For sure. I mean, very, very cool strategy. Definitely a strange one from Strange, and that is always awesome to see, right? This Stalker, I was gonna say something about the first Stalker, but the second one is just pissing me off. Like, put a probe there, you know? Because that guy is gonna die every time when there's blink out. A lot of disruptor shots going up at the same time. 2 massive connections are gonna give Goblin the game, and this was a really fun one for me. I mean, that was great.
Yeah, it's certain. I felt like 5 new folds form in my brain off of that game, because I mean, a glaive timing hitting with just about 12 to 15 sentries, something like that across the map.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, clearly unintended, the glaive, right? Like, I don't know what he thought he was researching. Maybe just misclicked overall. But the timing, I mean, removing the glaive from the equation was pretty cool, no?
Yeah, I mean, I could have seen charge, and honestly, if he thought, and maybe this was a misread, if he thought this was, you know, blink into charge, as is, you know, fairly common, skipping charge and going straight into disruptor is kind of a greedy play if you think about it. So maybe he thought that Goblin, you know, off kind of the back and forth, didn't feel like he could do that, move into a bunch of zealots, and then you warp in a bunch of adepts off the backside against all these zealots. That is a winning fight that then Strange gets, because the zealots, I mean, they get shredded by a bunch of +1, +2 clave adepts, but unfortunately,
I see. So you're thinking maybe it was intended, it was just not necessary.
I don't know whether it was intended or not, but if it was, I think it was based off faulty information, right? Kind of this idea that they're not going to be double rebel disruptor this quickly, kind of is the thought there, and because there were, well, we never saw any adepts get warped in. Maybe it was just canceled, and maybe I'm just kind of reading into this a little bit too much, but I have seen Protoss players go for things like that, where they...
No, it could very well be the case that he just has the option as well reactively, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there is zealots, which, I mean, are part of pretty much, charge lots are part of pretty much, like 85% of PvPs, it feels like. So, yeah, I feel like maybe just having it as an option to kind of react on the spot could be good.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe it was just a misclick, as you said, or maybe it was supposed to be charge.
Yeah, I don't know.
Regardless, there is one thing
that
is
charge. Yeah, you think it could have been charge? I don't know if it could have been charge.
Yeah,
because it's like charge with that many sentries seems like a little bit inconsistent, right? Because it's like you're bleeding units at the front with the zealots, whereas like stalkers and immortals make a lot of sense because you're trying to preserve like all of your army, right? With the force fields, that's where you get the value for those.
Yeah. I guess if you get like really good force fields, the zealots can charge on top. But regardless, the one misclick that we will not make is going into game 2.
Right. Yo, boy. Is this the rule? I always do the first intro.
I mean, you've been going for it. Go, cats, take it.
Okay. In the bottom right-hand side, it is for Platinum Heroes, Goblin.
What's he gonna say? I wanted that strictly because I wanted to hear your eagle sound.
Of course.
There we go. In the upper left, in the red, he's down a game for Mystery Gaming. Strange.
Make a disappearing sound.
That was my disappearing sound.
Good. Rock solid.
There we go. Okay, so we have very different builds getting started here in this game number 2. Gateway on the low ground, you know, the Max Packs idea. Single gate expound coming out of Goblin, which really, it shouldn't surprise anyone. I don't think Goblin is... I think Goblin is one of those players that, given the opportunity, is going to go for something like this. Not the least of which, because it means you can go Stargate. And Strange, well, he does kind of have this imperative to get aggressive, and there's already a pylon on the map. So this... What do you think? 3-gate robo here?
I mean, there's another gateway there. Is that it? Is that what you're anticipating? I mean, it would make sense. Looks powerful. Looks like he wants to just try to win, right? Like, all right off the bat. Goblin's gonna have to identify this and potentially add a quick Void Ray or something of the sorts, or even better, okay, now a robo. I think it's early enough that you know, you don't have to commit to the Stargate whatsoever.
No, I mean, you talk about Goblin having to identify it. That is a very quick identification, Cats. In fact, this gateway will not be powered for a while. The pylon goes down very, very quickly, and Goblin, well, I don't know whether this was part of his prep or just part of his scouting, but this is not really how you want it to go if you're Strange. He's going to... Is he even gonna bot? We need to see a probe going over, right? He needs this gateway to repower it, right?
Yeah. No doubt. He drops the robo first, however, and it's going to be on different locations as well. Now has 2 adepts here to try to pressure Goblin into staying in his base. But Goblin, I mean, yeah, I love this. Just wall off and go hunt again. Because those adepts' job was, okay, I haven't been scouted in Strange's mind, right? It's like by the time these adepts are out, you don't expect to have been scouted. So the adepts are just meant to keep the army at bay. But, I mean, he was scouted so early that Goblin can just wall off, be quote-unquote a little bit inefficient because you wouldn't need to fully wall off, and try to move out to apply pressure to this location instead. Which is I think, the right call. And he did add a robo as well, or no? That robo's a little late on the side of Goblin, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean... I want to say that this is just such a disaster, right? Having that pylon depowered as it is, all the scouting done, but he doesn't know about the he doesn't know about the robo. So there is that. Immortals are on the way. That force field is not really going to do that much. But the secondary problem here, Cats, all the production of Goblin until that robo pops out is in the natural. And Immortal.
Poke one. Nice.
There we go. Now just go back behind the wall of depth, though. They're not going to get in. They're just going to hold the position here. Now they're going to try to arrive. One will fall. And he doesn't complete the shade.
And that Stalker's actually trapped, but it's not going to get picked off by Strange, right? Not identifying the power of its own force field there, perhaps. Instead, he goes after a gateway that's going to have enough HP that it can be healed with the super battery, with the battery overcharge here from Goblin, who pops it very promptly in order to save that gateway, knowing that he can, right, against the damage output that was going out. So expertly done here from the Croatian, as he gets the surround of the 2 adepts in the main, but not before losing 9 probes.
He's 10. And on top of that one, he did have to kill a couple of his own probes because Goblin was heavily supply blocked. So the adepts are getting damaged. He finds himself supply blocked, so he can't get those immortals out. And this was a disaster from Strange, right? Getting that pylon scouted so early, having it killed, pressure on the second, that was not good. The adepts, they get on top of the sentries, which means no force fields here. This is a dead gateway, and into the mineral line they're gonna go. This was a disaster for Strange from the opening, Cats, but it is not a disaster now. Strange, I don't know that this is an army anymore that Goblin can really deal with. It's 2 immortals, there's a warp prism, everything's depowered, probes have to get pulled, and it looks like we're going to game 3. Goblin had everything that he needed to make this hold happen, and then Strange just found the damage anyway.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're Goblin, you have to be anticipating that there could be a robo. Maybe his own downfall, as far as like not expecting the follow-up, was to kill that pylon, and then just kind of underestimates the follow-up, right? And the potential for a robo, because maybe he thinks he scouted the one location and the robo wasn't a different one. So, yeah, I mean, props to Strange for sticking through with his strategy and making it work instead of just taking a kind of like the loss in that terrible situation and just saying, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just expand and play a little bit from behind and like try to recover later on.
Yeah, and that's kind of a solid mind game in and of itself, right? It's the whole, I scouted my opponent doing this thing, so there's no way they're gonna commit to it, right? And then you don't give it the credit that it deserves, and then when your opponent not only commits to it, but they double down, they add the robo, all of a sudden it's just, well, I should have gotten that Stargate. I should have gotten that robo much quicker. I really thought I had the hold. And Goblin, I feel like he almost committed a little bit too much to killing the second pylon, because there were 2 pylons there. He wasn't going to get both before the gate with the double gateway production runs across the map and forces him back. So I almost wonder whether it would have been. I mean, it's not like he really lost that much, but I wonder if that time was better served doing something else.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else he could do, right? Because it's such a small pocket of units, and sometimes you have like strength out in the map and you don't know exactly what your opponent is doing, and they could be doing a million things. So you don't know if those stalkers are gonna arrive exactly when they arrive, or 5 seconds later, or 10 seconds later, or not at all, right? And if they're already there, you have stalkers, so nothing can catch you really. So you can just poke out. Oh, there's more than I have, I back. There's not more than I have, I go, right? Like you don't have the timing of the stalkers walking across the map memorized, especially on a game that's like that weird. So yeah. I think it was fine.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we now move into game 3, and winner moves on to a qualifying match. Loser moves on to an elimination match. Let's see what happens.
All right.
And in the upper right, in the red, supplanting Cats' expectations. Strange.
I see. So if I stay silent for like 5 seconds, you do the intro, but otherwise I take the intro within the first 5 seconds. Is that our system, our pattern?
I guess.
Interesting. All right. And in the bottom left-hand side, his opponent, it's Goblin for Platinum Heroes.
Cats, I feel like by the end of the day, we're just going to play chicken with intros, and it's just, we're in the game, waiting for someone to say something, and the music's playing, and eventually the track that we're using for intro music runs out of time, and we're just sitting here like, you go first.
Yeah, because you do like a 7-second threshold or something, so it's like very long that you have to wait for you to do the intro, right? Otherwise, it's just the eternal chicken. So it's like, that's why like I defaulted to doing intros, and then I asked you, and you were like, oh, you've been taking them. I'm like, well, yeah, because your threshold seems like 7 seconds if I don't take it within 7 seconds,
Well, it's actually not all that long, because we have to wait for the assets to leave, and then the scene transition, and yeah. So you were actually hitting it right on time for like a really good standard intro. I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's very interesting, because I was testing your threshold basically, but you're saying because I'm not unaware of all the stuff that's on and off your screen, it fits perfectly.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I like how we've devolved, not into casting, but into meta casting.
Devolved? Wow.
Evolved.
Okay.
Both at the same time.
All right. Goblin again opening with the double gateway. Both of them are, in fact, and they're both going into sentry production off of one already on the ground. So that's pretty cool. Both players are looking to kind of like not risk anything in this game 3. And again, looking to play, into at least their mid game.
That's fun. I mean, if you're Goblin, right, I think you're going to look back at game 2, and obviously there's not a lot of time here between games. Sometimes the player will kind of go back and look at a replay, but I don't think Goblin did. But if you're looking at game 2, you're going to look back at that. You're going to say, you know what? I probably should have held that, but I didn't. I felt very comfortable in game 1. So why risk it, really? Let me just play what I've been doing. It's going to work out. I'm going to be fine. But it does seem like Strange is laying the groundwork. And again, he may go for a very different option out of here. We're just judging this off the robo first. But at the very least here, Cats, he's laying the groundwork for that really interesting 12th century 5 immortal type of push that we saw in game 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he started with just the adept pressure, maybe even like a warp prism to start things off, and then build up on the back of that, right? So that could be rather interesting. Maybe a faster immortal sentry timing or something of the sorts. And for Goblin, I'm not sure how replicable what he did is in the first game, because I'm not, familiar with playing this matchup at this level, much less with like the opponents knowing each other and whatnot. So I don't really know the limitations, but it seems to me like double robo with double disruptor production that early has to be a little bit greedy, right? Like there has to be a punish. So I'm not sure if it's super replicable for Goblin, but I'm also not sure, what the punishment.
Yeah, there's a reason we really don't see that all that much, because you do have to stay at home, right? You lose a lot of map control by doing so. Your army is smaller because you're building those disruptors, and it means you're a little bit more vulnerable to harass, things like that. But if your opponent attacks into you with a bunch of really static units, right? Sentries do not split. Immortals do not split very well. As long as the disruptors don't go down, their disruptors are very good against them. That, I mean, it seems like it works out fairly well. Oh, nice block there coming in from Goblin. But for now, okay, so Strange, he's got Blink on the way. It was Robo into Twilight. He's got 1 Immortal, but he's not building anything more. And with +1 on the way, well, for now, again, we're just kind of moving on here. And I do kind of feel like the onus is on Strange. I know what Ligulac says that this is going to be a 2-0 for Strange, and you know he has that lifetime setup. But again, just having seen how Goblin has played over this series against Hero Marine as well, it really does feel, at least to me, that Strange is the one that's going to have to be the one that does something and finds that he feels like the imperative is here for him to find the advantage and not just to kind of receive Goblin's pressure and just be better.
Yeah, stylistically, Goblin is the type of player that will thrive in later games as well. Like, he can be very efficient with his build orders. He's the type of player that I think min-maxes a lot. So I feel like from that perspective as well, like, Strange has to be really careful because Goblin will take economic risks here and there and cut the right corners. So he makes a lot of, like, quote-unquote educated gambles, if you will. He's great at min-maxing, right? Like, you saw him, for example, in the Pig had a challenge, and I think Goblin won it, right? Like, that's just testament to how efficient and how quickly he can be at evaluating what's the best way or fastest way to do X, Y, or Z, right? Like, he's a very intelligent player. So yeah, I think I agree with you that Strange would benefit from not letting him cut those corners and trying to punish it.
And there's nothing I love more than watching a pro player like really optimize something. There are so many small things that you can change to make it even better. But it seems like Strange is doing the exact same thing as the Stalkers into the main base. That's going to be a dead pylon. Production down a little bit. And then, well, he's just going to blink out in a second. Second dead pylon. No, can't kill it. But yeah, we have 5 sentries on the map. 3 Immortals. Warp Prism done. +1 done. Strange seems ready to move out on the map. Here's so Goblin. He's got the read. Cannon's going down. Shield battery's already here. And he's already into disruptor production. He's got 1. He's probably going to have a 3rd one popping out by the time this pressure from Strange hits. And I'm not going to say we're going to say the exact same thing in Game 3 as we saw in Game 1, but it's setting up to give Goblin that opportunity.
Yeah, one thing that Strange could do better this game than the last is maybe not clump up his Immortals as much. Because once the rest of his units are like blinking in or whatever, if you have all clamped up, then that offers a really good disruptor shot for Goblin. That's the best target I think that he can get, is all three Immortals in one shot. And last time he didn't find it fast enough, but this time around, both disruptors have been removed right away from Strange. Beautiful snipes on the blink forward, and that's gonna make things very, very awkward and very, very difficult for a Goblin that's now protecting his last disruptor and trying to keep it out of vision with his life.
Okay, so big news, the Observer's down, so it's a little bit harder now for Strange to find that vision, to make sure he knows where the disruptor is, and it is in the natural here. So Stalkers, Goblin's going to be looking for the Stalkers to blink on top of him. There we go. This is the opportunity. Disruptor comes in from the backside.
Good hit.
But it's only going to get 2 Immortals. Yeah, the sentries are still here. The stack defense here, Cats, it's doing so much, but there needs to be another shot.
Yeah, there needs to be another one. And here come both at the same time, but only one shot ready. The Immortals do a good job of dodging, and the blink also. So Strange in a very good position here to close things out. Still, I mean, it's not all done, right? Because Goblin still has his natural base expansion, and Strange hasn't yet taken a 3rd. So if Goblin can stabilize, if he can land a go, that's a very ambitious one. If he can land some good disruptor shots, there is yet a chance as Goblin goes on the counter offense, and Strange sees the opportunity, smells blood in the water, and he will be able to close out this series. But not 2-0 like Caligula said. That was too mean of a score. This one is a little more beneficent towards the Croatian. Let's see. I think they showed they're kind of evenly matched, but Strange getting the better